Okay, let's take a look at this scene right here. This is my large 11 by 17 scene, and it has not been spray sealed yet. And right now is not the ideal time to be doing this because it's a little bit windy outside, and it's better than still, still air. But I'm really curious about this and want to get it done. But this is the, just to give you an idea of the size of this piece. Here's the can, and I'm using a Krylon UV resistant clear. You can use any type of thing like any type of spray sealant. Some polyurethanes work. My preference is the art sprays. Art craft spray type of things, but there's some other types, kind of more industrial furniture-ish types of spray sealants that work really good too. And some people, if they just don't want to buy, some kind of specialized spray like this, then they've used anything like hairspray as well. Okay, some people have asked about this handle. This is just called a spray handle or a quick spray, holder or something like that. You can find these on the just about any type of hardware store in the spray paint department usually. But anyways, they come in handy because they give me, I don't know, kind of a little bit more control, and I can get a much more even spray out of it at times than just holding down that little switch. I mean, you can do it with little, just your finger too, but I don't know, I always end up getting a lot of it on my finger, it seems, from, I don't know, overspray or something like that. Okay, let's see what this looks like here. I've used a lot of saturated tones all over the entire piece right now, and we'll see what this does in terms of having hopefully a transformative type of effect, especially in the darker areas. And in some of these areas where I've applied some of the white pigment ink, if you want to watch that, it's in part 3 of the making of this video scene. And those areas in there, I want to retain some of that real light, delicate pigment ink effects in there, so I won't spray that too much. So it'll be mostly a perimeter-oriented spraying. And some of these trees in here really kind of dry. When they dried, they became much lighter in value, and hopefully I'm going to kind of retrieve a lot of the darker saturations of those impressions right in there. So I'm guessing it'll be some kind of like a perimeter spraying, and then kind of, kind of a spraying right down the middle here. I can hit it a little bit in here too, and in this area. So let's see what happens. Okay, when you're spraying, just some basics. You don't want to spray too close, farther than 6 inches, preferably 8 to 12 inches usually. Now it's a little bit windy here, so I'm going to have to spray a little bit closer than I normally would, just because it'll, if I spray a foot away, it's just going to blow in the breeze here. So let's see what happens here, and let's see if hopefully the camera can pick up anything that does change. Okay, I always get it going a little bit first. I start spraying off my scene, and then I go into it, okay? Now this is a really big one. Smaller ones, you don't have to, you don't have to pay too much mind to that. Okay. Immediately I can see the values of the areas out here have darkened a little bit. And I don't know, you can't really do a really close comparison like you can on a quarter-page card, so where it's just right next to each other, but I can tell that this side's darker than this side. I don't know if it's picking up on the camera. Alright, coming in, just do kind of nice light, quick passes like this. Kind of allow it to set up a little bit. This type of spray does not take a long time to dry. But it just depends on where you're at and what the kind of relative humidity would be and temperature. And okay, hitting it a little bit more on the bottom portion, it's really bringing out the saturation right in here. My trees in here did become darker. It's not as dark as the foreground ones in the form of the VersaFine pigment ink. I do think, let's see, I'm taking a close eye at watching the VersaFine pigment ink and making sure that it isn't running. It might be running a little bit. I think it's kind of, it's almost like it's dissolving some of that ink, I can tell, but if I just allow it to set up and dry, then it should fix it, you know, down, you know, without totally smearing out. It's not going to bring it back completely into solution, you know. Like I said, this thing dries really fast, so it's only in like that second or two that it's been freshly applied that you might see some sort of a change. Okay, let me hit some area right in here. It's a very light area without too much ink, but there are some subtle layers of tone that have been applied in that area. Now this piece is so large, I did mount it on a temporary, I just put it on the back of a plastic lid here, just because it is so large, and it is a little bit breezy out here, so I don't want it flopping around everywhere. Okay, let's see if I can kind of zoom in. Let's take a look at some of these deeper saturations, maybe. There's a little bit of glare on the scene, too, just from the light of being outside here. Let's see. So right down in this area right in here, you can see some of the richer saturations. Let me see if I can get it to focus. See right down in here. In areas where you've applied a lot of color and a lot of layers of, you know, say different values of different types of tones, those are the areas that would stand to benefit the most from spraying, because the under, you know, the layers on the below the top layers will kind of show a little bit more in terms of kind of their influence on the overall, and then especially, you know, and again in the darker areas it really darkens the darks a lot. It doesn't lighten the lights, it just darkens the darks, you know, and those kind of base layer applications that you put down really pay off in terms of kind of the overall saturation. Alright, so anyways, that was my big scene right there. It's the first time I've ever done a scene this large, and it's the first time I've ever not matted, but mounted the scene. I just did it with some, you know, just temporary painter's tape on the back of it. But kind of had to do it on the scene this large. But anyways, I think that looks pretty good, and I don't know, just seeing it firsthand here, I mean, I can tell the difference in terms of the influence that this spray has had on it. My colors in here are nice and saturated, and kind of things like all of my alcohol pen marks and things like that. They don't show because they've blended in with the background, but the benefit of them being applied over the top of the dye-based inks really comes out very nicely. One bad thing, but I don't know, something that I don't really care about in terms of an overall thing is where it did get darker. Let me see if I can. Yeah, my camera's having a hard time focusing in this close. Zoomed in too much. Let me see. Sorry about this. Okay. Alright, here we go. I'm zooming. I just have the camera too close. Alright, so in these areas in here where the area got darker, my little, I don't know, fingerprints and stuff like that kind of show up much more because the contrast in that area got more extreme. Not so extreme, it's not black on white or anything like that, but I do see my little fingerprints throughout here. It was tough to not handle this scene. It was just so large, you know, when kind of manipulating it and turning it around and getting it at the right angle, I needed to apply my different media with. So there was a lot of handling of it, you know, as opposed to kind of just a quarter-page card-size scene where I can just hold the edge and just spin it around, you know, with one finger or something like that. I was grabbing this, so I just need to keep that in mind and make sure that my hands are nice and kind of oil-free when holding something this large. Otherwise, you'll get those little types of things in there. But like I said, that doesn't really bother me. I tend to look at all my scenes as kind of more of an experiment than anything. All right, so I'm really pleased with the way that this spray did bring out everything. You know, I've done this many times before, but I don't know, I probably, not only is this scene really large, but I did take the time to apply a little bit more ink layering than I normally do, just from the sheer, I don't know, kind of a investment that you take in terms of laying out everything in terms of the imagery, and then I did a base layer toning process, and I don't know, when you go kind of that extreme, you just want to kind of want to take it as far as you can. In this case, in terms of the coloring and layering process, in terms of using all the media that you possibly have in a given color scheme and value range within that color scheme. So I don't know, just a big experiment. Looks like that little bug likes walking around on there. And that just comes to show you that this is dried very quickly. There's this little bug kind of crawling on there, and he's not getting stuck or anything like that. So quick drying material, even though it is quick drying. Never spray this inside the house or something like that. Or I wouldn't, you know, otherwise you're going to be breathing it for the next half hour, and it'll really smell for a while. But allow this to kind of air out a little bit, and you know, if you have your pieces out and they're done with dye-based inks, speaking of that, kind of have it in the shade, allow it to dry and kind of gas, you know, for about, you know, a few minutes before you take it back inside, if you can. You know, sometimes I have to take it in, you know, faster than that because I'm spraying at nighttime or something like that, or there's, you know, there's a little bit of a, I don't know, rain or fog or something, you know, kind of moisture out in the air. So, but usually just kind of be careful about it and be mindful of the kind of the, I don't know, what you're breathing. So, anyway, fun stuff. And in this case, a very big piece here, and benefiting from the positive attributes of a sprayed, coated scene here. It tends to kind of, I don't know, equalize all of the different kind of aspects of certain brands of inks and certain papers. Certain brands of inks kind of dry dull on different brands of paper, but if you just spray it with some sort of spray like that, it tends to kind of, you know, you'll get the brightness and the benefit of the inks, if that's what you're going after, in terms of having a nice saturated page. If you're going for something kind of more muted and matte looking, then, you know, you can go with a matte spray, or just don't spray it at all, and you'll get kind of more of a pastel type of effect, which looks good as well. So anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments or questions, drop us a note in the comment section below.